Ali, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Very well, very well. I just want to start by saying, mate, thank you for coming down.
No,
It's an
thank you for having
absolute
me.
pleasure having you on for episode 2 of the TheoClarkePodcast. And thank you for being here.
No, thank you, mate. Thank you. Do you know what? It's funny because last year I was very not against podcasts, but I didn't think I had a story. I still don't think I have a story to share, in all honesty. And I think since I've done that podcast, you know the guys that I've done it with the Graph Kings. I've had loads of people reach out saying, "Oh, can you do a podcast? Can you do a podcast?" To which I've said no, because I thought that's the one that I've done in the UK. Now I'm in Dubai, and then we went for a coffee, and you said it, and I was absolutely.
I really appreciate that. And do you know what? The reason I think you had a positive response is it's not even necessarily about your story, but your character.
Yeah.
It gives you the opportunity to put out there who you are and attract like-minded individuals and meet more people like yourself.
Yeah.
And before we get too into it, I actually wanted to take a moment to obviously introduce you.
Yeah.
But what I did want to say before that was I met a friend of mine for a coffee, a little story behind the introduction. I met him for coffee last week, and he was actually the first person I had on here. His name's Alex. And he said, "Oh, who have you got lined up as your next guest?" And I said, "Oh, it's a friend of mine called Harley." And he said, "Okay, what does he do?" And I said, "Oh, it's a personal shopper." And a bit like that guy out there that we were just chatting to, he's like, "Oh, that's a thing? Like, what do you mean? What, he just buys stuff for people?" And I was like, "Well, it's luxury goods and things like that." But I thought, I'd actually rather you introduce yourself, because who's going to say it better than you?
Yeah.
But as the founder and CEO of Trends Sourcing and Trends Blueprint,
Yeah.
what is personal shopping and what does it look like to you? What is your day to day?
Do you know what? It's a good question, right? Because when I say that to people now, and they go personal shopping, I go exactly what your friend said, right? You buy things for people and then charge them a fee. Why won't they go do it? Now, there's loads of different aspects to personal shopping. For me, there's reselling, and then there's personal shopping. So reselling, to how I sort of stemmed and got into the industry, would be buying into something that's hyped and charging a premium. Right, so things like Yeezy, things like Nike, for example, that's how I sort of started. I used to work for a reseller. I understood the game. He was buying into exclusive trainers that were limited, and then he would flip them. But that was a trend. So after a certain amount of time, that trainer won't sell for what it would sell for anymore. It's an in and out kind of thing. It's a sort of, you buy it, you flip it. That's reselling. I did that for probably from the age, I worked for him, but helped him from 15, and then started to really see light at the end of the tunnel around 17, 18, when I built up my own profit pot. Personal shopping, I only knew personal shopping from like Selfridges and Harrods, people that walk around and say, "Do you want to buy this, sir?" It's very different than a retail personal shopper. I'm not a retail personal shopper because they don't charge you a premium. They're annoying and they follow you around the shop and they try and sell you, and they'll make their back end commission. What I do as a personal shopper is somebody that would understand the client's needs and then go out there to find an item that, in theory, the client can't find. Yeah, so when people say, "What, you go into the shop and buy an item?" It's a lot more than just going into the shop and buying. I've got a huge network to the item's probably sold out, hence why you come to me. Or the other type of buyer that's just got loads of money and no time. That's where we can make a lot of money as well. So a lot of our VIPs, they haven't got time to shop, so they don't mind paying £300-400 more, knowing that I'm going to bring it to their door and offer a 5-star service. When you say, "What's a day in the life look like for me?" As you know, we've sort of gone back and forth for a while now. No day's the same. And as bad as it sounds from a businessman's perspective, no day is structured. And no personal shopper can tell me they have time management. If they do, then they can't be scaling right, because I will set my day out and an inquiry will come in and it will completely send my day left. Yeah, so I might say, "Okay, cool, I'm going to take content here, I'm going to buy this item, and then I'm going to go see this client." A VIP turns up and goes, "Mate, I need a bag today." That changes my whole, based on the fee and the actual ROI of it, that would change my whole day. Like yesterday, for example, I mapped out my day. A client could only want 8 pairs of Hermes trainers. I'm not going to sit there and edit content today. I'm going to go and find them 8 pairs of Hermes trainers and I'm going to facilitate it. Why is he coming to me? You can't buy them in the shop. But because of my network, personal shopping, I will go and shop them, find them, and I'll hand deliver it to his door, and I'll charge a premium that he's happy with and that I'm also happy with as well.
And over the years, how have you found the best way to build that network?
It's all about relationships. And I'm not going to shy away from it. Money talks. Money does talk, and they say you need money to make money in this game. If you want to get to the top tier kind of, because there's a lot of middlemen in this game, right? And I've had to sort of, over my time, and still now, I still work with a lot of middlemen because I'm not just there right now. But there's a lot of like buy from him and him buys from her and she buys from him and he buys from her kind of thing in this industry, right? So I think the best way to build a network is to keep those middlemen very close because you're going to need them, right? And I had a situation the other day. I really wanted to eliminate this middleman and get to the main person, but what am I going to gain right now trying to eliminate him? Let me work with him, and over time, I will somehow work out where he's getting his inventory from. And I've got a little story that we'll go through a little bit later on how I ended up getting to the main source on another contact anyway. But it's money talks and networking is so important. It's about offering value to somebody. You can sit there and go, can you help me get this discount? Or if I need this, can you help me get that? Yeah, but what's it? It's the way the world works now. What's in it for me? So it's about offering value. I'm still learning from the networking side. There's middlemen that I'm so eager to eliminate and get to the right person, but I can't right now. But yeah, I would say networking, money talks, and it's about sort of building relationships.
You talk about middlemen and relationships, but from the few occasions we have spoken about where you've sort of slightly sort of dropped in some names of your clients, which I won't share here in case, you know, it's a bit hush-hush, but you make it sound like actually you're not, a lot of the time, dealing with the people at the top, but from what I've heard, actually you are. Like, you've got quite a lot of contacts out here that, you know, you'll say a name, I'll be like, damn, I've been following him on Instagram for like a year. That's crazy. Yeah.
So from a client perspective, yes. So from a client perspective, right, we work in two ways. Of course, I would love to deal with a direct person, but the way that I'm trying to structure the buyers, I'm just trying to work with introducers. The buy is so big and prestigious. Trying to get in front of these big boys it's a who do you know in that circle? If you don't know somebody in the circle, you're not going to get to that person. So like we spoke about Tam Khan, good client of mine. He wouldn't mind me mentioning him anyway. I got to him through my business partner because he has a strong relationship. Maybe if I went into TKMMA, amazing gym by the way, and spoke to Tam, I probably would, he's such an approachable person, I probably would have got him on as a client. Yeah. But the way that I'm thinking, I'm trying to work smart this year is like, there's a lot of legwork trying to get to the big boys. If I get in with somebody that knows somebody, and it's how I've got all of my VIPs. All of my VIP clients back home in the UK have come from a friend of that VIP or someone who isn't as prestigious as them, but if I create a relationship with him, he's going to get me in the door. But from a supplier perspective, we have some big contracts with some big brands. But there's a lot of middlemen. There's a lot of, this year I'm trying to get to the top in regards to dealing with certain brands and suppliers that I want to deal with. But I'm happy dealing with a middleman because sometimes it's a little less, it's stress-free dealing with someone that can deal with my stress, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And I guess, is it less demanding in that, like you say, if you do have a VIP, like you say, who suddenly needs 8 Hermes shoes, trainers, whatever, you suddenly have to drop what you're doing and serve that client. Whereas with the middlemen, maybe is it less pressure on you, or is it still the same? You've got to keep that service delivery there at all times.
Oh, mate, I'm very OCD, man. So as much as I like to be involved, as much as I could send a driver to that client, and we had this conversation. I had this conversation with my business partner the other day. We're getting a driver because I'm always on my phone, and driving here in Dubai is carnage, mate. I get scared sitting in the back of an Uber looking at these drivers. Like they're just in and out of each other, right? But then he said to me, he said, why don't we get a driver that we can just send to clients? And I said, yeah, they're cool. That's great. I said, but I'm a very people person, and I'm the kind of person, and I always say this, that if you're going to spend £5,000, I will make you spend 10 grand because I'm such an approachable person, and I will not take you for everything because that's the wrong way of looking at it, but I will upsell like mad. Not to like a buy this. But I know if I come and sit down with you, and I had it the other day, when I met a client, he was only in the market for a bag. When I met him at the one of the address hotels, I took 5-6 other items there because I sort of scoped his style, took every single item. Send the driver there with a bag. He's taking the bag, he's handing over the cash, there's no experience.
That's very, very true. And do you think that's part of how you've been able to make trend sourcing so successful? Yeah. Because I was going to touch on this. As much as you're the only personal shopper that I know or personal reseller, as I understand it, there are a lot of other people who are doing it at the same level as you, and maybe even further beyond, but also some below that. So how do you distinguish yourself? Is it all about the experience and that personal relationship? I guess it's in the title, right? Yeah. Personal shopper.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I said this on the other podcast, right? I'm very negative about a USP. Yeah. Is personal shopping saturated? Yes. Saturated to a point where someone can't come in tomorrow and set up? No. Like, I don't think any market can be too saturated where nobody can come in. Podcast studio, there's loads of them. Dubai, there's a car dealership on every single corner of the road, but they all make millions. Yeah. I think the biggest thing, and I say this to all of my Blueprint members, right, is you. Social media is amazing. We can sit behind social media and make money. You can sit behind a Depop account and an eBay account and an Instagram account. But then I come into your space and I'm out meeting clients and I'm out showing my face and I'm out doing videos. I am going to outwork you and you're going to get outworked. So for me, I was I would like to say one of the first to really start to put a face to personal shopping, because you haven't followed personal shoppers, but the big trend for personal shoppers, right, was to blur your face and to post real sort of aesthetic images of nobody's face in it. So all your big boys that still do it now, you don't know a lot of the faces behind this brand. When I showed my face, I honestly feel, and I didn't show my face because I wanted to. A little bit of a long story. I had a bit of someone impersonated my account, hacked my account. People thought it was me. I had to put a face to the brand to save the business. And it was the best thing I ever done, because people now felt safer shopping with me because they could put a face to the name and face to the voice.
Yeah.
And every client I can meet, I will go and meet.
Yeah. And do you think it also allows them to get a bit more insight as to who you are? And this is the thing with a lot of business is people buy into people,
100%.
Especially in personal shopping when you're talking about the experience and what it is you're actually providing. If it's just a blurred face and then all of a sudden you get a drop off from a driver, where's the experience in that? You don't even really know who you're talking to, right? And me and Joe, my business partner, as you know, always kind of say the same thing. When you're starting a business, or even, as you're growing a business, the clients that you get on, or, the people that you serve initially will invest in you as a person. Like, yes, it's great to have results, case studies, or to be known to be good at what you do, but actually to give the personal touch to it, I think is what makes all the difference. And that's what allows someone to separate from their money. Like what you say, you're going to go out and visit them, they only intended on buying one thing. You've very intelligently looked at their profile, seen their style, gone that extra mile, and then you've upsold them. So I think that also comes back to your intelligence and the salesman in you, which is that your background, sales?
Well, it's always been always been sales in that sense. Obviously, come from a recruitment background. Before that, it's mad, because if I look at what I wanted to be, then what I did, and then what I went and did, and now what I do now, it's funny because my family are very construction driven. So I wanted to do construction. I just wanted to be an accountant, but didn't get the right grades in maths. So I've always I've loved chasing money. So sales for me, when I walked into recruitment, it was very Wolf of Wall Street, and I loved it. So sales driven. I'm very I'll look at something and I'll think, how can I white label it and sell it? Or how can I add a profit onto that and flip it? I look at everything. It's really funny, right? Someone cleaned my shoes the other day out here in Dubai, and the first thing I thought is, how can I white label it? And that's what we've already gone and done. That business will launch fairly soon, and the marketing's being done behind it. And that's what I'm like. And that's why I can't work for somebody. Because when I was in recruitment, I was so salesy that I wanted to take the company over. So I was thinking, how can I take everything from this company and make it my own? And then recruitment, you look at recruitment, and it just really hurt my brain trying to do it alone. So I went into what I loved most, which was obviously personal shopping and reselling.
And where do you think that hunger for chasing money comes from?
Coming from a normal working class family, I think it was. I've got a very typical white family, if that makes sense. So dad works in construction, sister does beauty, brother followed dad and went in construction, other brother followed dad and went in construction. For me, the cliche thing to go ahead and do there was to follow dad and go in construction. For me, it was, I never sat there and wanted to be a football player. That's a lie. Everyone wanted to be a football player. I did at one point, right? It'd be amazing if I was a professional goalkeeper, but I'm not. But it was always I wanted to be a businessman. I always told myself from young, imagine walking down the street and seeing your businesses, or get to retirement knowing that you're leaving this massive legacy behind. I think the hunger just come from wanting to. I had my own money from very early, so I was like that. I grew up around friends that their mum and dads had money. So you go to the ice cream van and they're pulling out £10 notes. I was pulling out a £2 coin. No, my family weren't poor, but I had a normal family. If you want something, it comes in at occasion, birthday, Christmas. And that's when I remember when I got into reselling, and the boys that I was going and working for were my friends' older brothers that had a lot of money, right? And I remember a pair of Huaraches come out, and every time I'd go to the release, I would just be wearing normal shoes. It might be the Adidas Velcros, what was popular then, right? And everyone had a pair of Huaraches on. I really, really wanted a pair. And I remember asking my mum and dad, I think I was 16, please, look, can I get a pair? And I was like, no. I remember sitting in my room thinking, we're poor. We've got no money. Because I thought that was the norm. But it wasn't. The norm is, why would my mum and dad go and buy me a £100 pair of shoes on a random day? Birthday or Christmas will come. So that's where the sort of hunger come from. I was around people that didn't have loads of money, but them going to an ice cream van with a £10 note, I thought they were absolutely rich. I wanted to be like them.
You know what? It's interesting to hear you say that. And I didn't actually know you had two brothers. I think I knew you had one.
Yeah. I got an older brother and I've got a younger brother. Yeah.
That's interesting. And I also am a sibling of 5.
Yeah.
And you know one of my brothers. I've got 2
Yeah.
brothers and 2 sisters. And what I was going to ask you is, you all grew up in the same household, you and your brothers.
Yeah.
Your 2 brothers followed your dad and went into construction, but
Yeah.
you took a completely different path. Even though you grew up in the same house, the same parents, the same environment, I always find it interesting how, and it's the same in my family, we all took different directions, even though we came from the same starting point.
Yeah.
Any idea why you think you were different to your brothers?
Do you know what it was? And I'll give credit to my older brother, right? Because he did put me on massively. So he was very involved from early. Like before I knew about trainers, he was importing trainers from the US. He was like one of the first to have see-through Air Force. Like ugliest things ever. They were like actually see-through.
I've never seen them, but I'm trying to picture them.
Yeah, bro. His trainer collection was insane.
Yeah.
And he was the first sort of like, I would be queuing up for shoes and he would be at the releases as well, but weren't flipping them. He was just buying them for his own collection.
Yeah.
And then he started to do a little bit of buying and selling. And I actually used to help him. So I helped him with his Depop account. And I've never actually spoke about this actually. So I think I was in year 7, year 8, because I remember nearly getting actually kicked out of school because I kept taking days off, but then I was sick. So I could run his Depop account for him. And then I literally, again, I had so that hunger in me. I just took his business from what was like a personal Depop account to like, mate, I think we got to like 5,000 reviews on Depop. And I started to understand sort of like how to flip his used shoes at a premium and basically help him out. And then I then sort of grew my love for reselling. I sort of like took his Depop account to start to sell, and I actually paid him for his Depop account. I bought the Depop account off him for £500. So he kicks himself now because it could have been me and him.
Yeah.
Right. And I think from there is I knew I had a potential, and like I think it's funny because my mum and dad and everybody in my family be like, you're going to be the millionaire of the family. I actually won at prom in year 11. Who's most likely to become a millionaire?
No way.
Yeah, and I've got that award somewhere at home because in school, I've sold everything. Match attack cards, sweets. I used to go to Tesco's, right, and buy donuts, muffins. We used to take them out the casing, throw a little bit of icing on them and say they were homemade and sell them for like £3 each. So I've always had some sort of idea, how can I make a flip?
Yeah.
But I think the different path would be, I don't know. Like my little brother asked me this the other day because he's very like me. Like, wants it.
You think he looks up to you?
Yeah, 100%. And he wants it. And he's in that phase now of like slightly serious, not serious, wants to enjoy himself a little bit. Because I grew up fairly quick. And I was a little bit boring at his age. I look at him now and I go like, mate, you're having it large. Like you're out and partying and all that. And I weren't partying at that age. I only started to party once I got ID, which was like 18.
Yeah.
And then I never really thought, I want to go out every weekend. I was thinking like, where can I build a business here? What can I do there? Where can I make a flip? Where can I go and do research? You know what I mean? On the podcast from early. I never read because I don't really like reading, but with him, if I had, like my older brother helped me, but my older brother was always like, he had girlfriends and he was out and he was like very popular. So it wasn't sort of like, and he didn't have a business. Now I think if I was my little brother and had somebody like me, then I would be much better off than what I am now because I will always guide my little brother. Like my little brother's also doing personal shopping. Okay. So I've given him like sort of like the pedestal. He does like the activewear stuff, and eventually, touch wood, he'll hopefully come out here because for him, and this is like it's perfect, mate. As you know, UK is very glass ceiling. So yeah, that would be the ultimate goal.
Definitely. And before we get on to Dubai, because there's a few things I want to ask you, I think the main thing I've taken away from what you've said there is the key is in business to start early. Yeah, 100%. I look back at when I guess started to call myself an entrepreneur, right, in the whole like online space, eCommerce, digital marketing, that kind of thing. And that was in, COVID gave me the opportunity to do that. So I would have been 23, 24. I'm now 27. And I look at the people coming up now doing things at like 18, 19. And all I think is, shit, I wish I started that young because you know it yourself. If you were on Depop in, I think you said year 7, year 8, so you would have been, 11, 12 years old. You're making money online at that age. And I think that's why you've seen so much success from an early age. You're still very young. What are you now?
23.
23?
23.
That's crazy, I look at you and just think you're my age. Yeah. Maybe because of the way that you carry yourself and your character. But again, that comes from being in business from so young, probably. So I think if we were to give any advice to anyone, it would be get started early, make the mistakes, learn, and get yourself in that working environment.
Yeah.
You're only ever going to learn so much sat behind a desk or on a construction site working for someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, I started in construction as a plumber.
Yeah.
And then I went into engineering, and then COVID came and I went into marketing. And, you know, I think that's the other thing in life. You just got to be fluid, and you got to be prepared to change things up, throw yourself in at the deep end and just see where it gets you.
Yeah.
But I guess, you know, it worked out for both of us on kind of where we're going, and hopefully it continues to. I enjoy throwing myself in at the deep end. And
mate, I love it.
You know, you're going to sink or swim.
Yeah.
And more often than not, you start swimming and you're okay. You come out on top. So
yeah, exactly.
That's the main thing. But Dubai, the reason I want to talk to you about that is, what's also interesting is we both came out here, 3 days apart, relocated to Dubai?
Yeah, yeah.
So I got here on December 29th. You came out Jan 2nd.
Jan 2nd, yeah.
And it's been an experience for both of us, both moving in with our missus, you know, being out here in another country, setting up business out here. I started a podcast. You're also doing a podcast. So there's a lot of overlap in me and you and kind of what we're doing, which is good to see. And also the other interesting thing that you actually kept me up the other night when you were talking about buying a property off plan.
Yeah.
So you've been here a month and now you've already invested in a property. So how did that happen?
Do you know what it is, mate? I've always wanted, I'm always very like, I'm not silly with my money. Like, I don't just jump into anything. I always get offered opportunities, right? Invest here, invest this, do that. And off plan, I've always been looking in off plan because you walk around Dubai and you see all this, like I've come to Dubai a few times now, and places that I've come to that didn't have properties have now got properties. And you speak to people, and I've spoken, so obviously me and my missus are moving out. So I've just found a property, but I knew that something was special about Dubai because I was having conversations with people pre-Dubai about properties, and 2 days later, they're gone. And then again, sorry mate, someone's taking it. So I knew, and I'm in the mix as much as anybody else, right? I know how much people want to move to Dubai, how much we've moved to Dubai, how worse the UK's becoming, and how much more people are going to come in and move to Dubai. The off plan come around, mate, it was just quite random actually. So I was doing a little bit of research, always wanted to do off plan. Obviously my missus now works for a real estate company. She mentioned this developer, and it's funny because I've heard about this developer but never noticed the name because some of the Chelsea Academy boys that I sell to are actually staying in their Cobham apartments. So it come available, I sat down, and you know, like when I've got a very good gut feeling, right? And I sat there, and sometimes I get a little bit scared about investing. I sat there and I broke it down to myself, and I looked at the numbers, and I looked at how their post handover works. I looked at the developer. I went down to the event yesterday, and I just knew that there was something about this property that, one, was going to be fun, 2, was affordable, and 3, it's going to really help me learn about off-plan, but then also the rental side, because there's a great opportunity that they give you the keys at post-handover. So it was an opportunity for me to not lose loads of money, and I don't think you can lose money in off-plan here in Dubai, but also learn about the area, because I'm also living in that area that I bought off-plan in, which is amazing, but also learn about, once that post-handover comes back to me, I'm going to now experience a little bit of the rental side, and that side can't go wrong because either way, I've got to pay the 35%. So if I can take a risk and try and get someone to rent it, if it goes wrong, it can't because I'm prepared to pay it anyway. But if I can get someone in there to pay the 35% for me, then happy days. And I will learn how to do the rental or Airbnb side as well. Yeah.
You know what, when you messaged me about that, I almost got that like FOMO feeling. I'm thinking, like Harley's got a property, let me look into it. And then you're telling me like how good it sounded. And I actually ended up that evening, I was dreaming about it all night, buying property in Dubai.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? I see Dubai the same way as you. Even when me and you moved over here just last month, I think 3 other couples from my area all moved out at the same time. If that's not telling you something, I don't know what is. Like, everyone seems to be coming here. I've even had, since being here, you've probably had it a lot more than me just based on your network, but people messaging me going, oh, I'm moving out to Dubai, how are you finding it?
Yeah.
Like, it is just almost like the norm. Like, and I think everyone sees what we see in it, but I wonder how far it's going to go. Like, they do keep building, it does keep growing, the prices keep going up. Do you think it's going to hit a ceiling, or do you think it's just going to keep going and going? Like, it's crazy.
I'll speak to people that lived in Dubai for a while now, and they're talking about like the traffic and little things like cars on the road. They're saying, mate, it's never ever been like, traffic's always been bad in Dubai, but not the way it is now. And that is because a lot of expats are now coming to Dubai, but not even just expats from the UK, from all over.
Yeah.
Because I think I see an article the other day that most UK millionaires are now moving to Dubai. right? One, because they're gonna, obviously the tax purposes and things like that, but the safety aspect, the prices in the UK are we've just got me and my missus have just got a 1 bed here. I think it's like 100 and something K a year. This 1 bed is bigger than 2 beds, and for what we've got, bro, I wouldn't be surprised if it was over 500K in the UK.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's very like Mayfair aesthetics.
Well, this is what makes me laugh, is everyone has this assumption that Dubai is really, really expensive.
Yeah.
And I think they're either people that have just never been, or, you know, because there has been some additional expenses for me, like moving out, getting my first apartment, doing things like that. But the actual cost of living, I would say I don't really spend any more on actually living than I did in the UK. If you want to go to the fancy restaurants, if you want to go to the beach clubs, yes, you can spend the money. But what I've also noticed about Dubai is almost every restaurant here, even if it's not a named restaurant, the food is amazing.
Amazing.
And it's on par or less, or on par or less than the cost of meals in the UK.
Yeah.
Like, so the food costs the same, fuel very, very cheap.
Yeah, super cheap, yeah.
The apartment that you can get for your money here is way beyond any value that you can get in the UK.
Exactly.
So I don't think it is more expensive.
Do you know what it is? The development that I've just bought, the off-plan, I met the COO yesterday. Lovely, lovely guy. And he said the exact same thing. His commercial is very driven around other areas of Dubai, not just the Burj, not just the marina, because that's what people know, right? I thought Dubai was expensive before I came here, because Dubai being that sort of aesthetics, they are drumming content out to the world of the nice restaurants you can go and all the fancy beach clubs, because that's what's drumming a lot of income. People are coming here and spending thousands on restaurants and beach clubs and whatnot. From a living arm, obviously it's hard to judge right now because I used to live at home. So my expenses I'm like, whoa. Because at the minute, I'm not paying rent now, I'm actually paying for a house. Do you know what I mean? Mum used to buy the shopping and cook for me. I'm now buying the shopping and cooking. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's how you live. Do you know what I mean? And I said it to me and my missus have been to one beach club since we've been here. We've burst the whole facade bubble now. Don't need to go to a beach club. That is a reward to us, right? And I said it to my missus the other days. I'm not going to go and pop down to Nobu on Friday and have an expensive meal. Would I do that back home? No. I'm not going to go to a beach club on Wednesday. Would I do that back home? No. These are like luxuries that we will work towards, and it'll be a reward to go to a beach club on a weekend and enjoy life. But I think it's a lot cheaper than the UK if you come out here and be smart. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I had a bit of a light bulb moment the other day when we first got here. And I was like, I want to make loads of money and I want to buy this big house. This is when I lived in the UK. But I said it when I was here, and I come out of this bubble and I thought, wait a minute. You make more money, you have to pay more money. Yeah. If you get a big house here, the way that the UK is, you're going to get the wrong attention anyway. Get a big house, people then are sort of negatively looking at you because we come from normal working class areas or working class families. And in hindsight, you have got to make a lot of money to get any house that I want in the UK. Because this 1 bed that I've got, mate, honestly, have you seen the video of it? Yeah. Mate, unreal. Not expensive, but when you look at it, put that in the marina somewhere and it will be triple, quadruple the price. And that's the luxury that sort of Dubai gives you. Because if I was to move out in the UK, I'd probably be in like a really small studio flat to start, because that's what I could probably afford. Or live way beyond your means, get a house somewhere and basically just bust your balls every month trying to live. And that's not what life's about. 100%. I think I'm very excited for you. I saw the videos. It does look amazing, mate. And I just don't think you get that kind of quality in the UK. No. But what is it? Well, I think you probably touched on a lot of it there as to kind of the reasons why you potentially moved out here. One thing I wanted to say that I've noticed since moving out here, I don't tend to go on socials that much. Yeah. But anytime I do go on that explore page on Insta, for some reason, all I keep seeing is like people in London, knife attacks, people stealing watches. It's almost like this algorithm has like targeted me as a reminder why I moved away. Yeah, it's mad. Like, I don't think I fit into that demographic where that sort of stuff would ever happen. But honestly, I'll just randomly go on there sometimes and I just see knife crime, gang fighting, watch stolen, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, like, you don't even hear of those things. You know what, you almost forget, you almost get a bit naive. Yeah, like, mad. Living here, it's almost, I've not been here long enough to say, but it's almost like the perfect bubble. Like, you almost just forget about everything else that's going on. Yeah. And it's not until I pull up that explore page, when I see what's going on in London, I'm like,
that is a reminder of why I'm here.
I moved, yeah.
You know?
And it's funny because obviously phone snatching is a massive thing in London, right?
Yeah.
Especially from where I'm from. And it's funny, this morning I was about to cross the road and this guy zoomed past me on a little thing and I was like, I straight away pulled my phone out and I chuckled to myself as I walked to the gym because I thought, and he looked at me a little bit just to say, mate, what are you doing? Because I've done it quick.
Yeah.
And even like when I'm walking to the gym in the morning and someone's running past me, I'm quick to go like, because that's how London makes you feel.
Yeah.
It makes you feel very on edge. And I haven't come out here and thought, oh, I'm safe now. Let me be really, really flashy. But what it is, it's a real sense of like, especially with what I do, right? And I was very blasé, I'll be honest with you. Like sometimes where I'm very busy in 100 miles an hour, sometimes I would be shopping in Selfridges and Harrods and have loads of bags with me and be walking around because you don't think like that. But realistically, that is probably one of the most dangerous things you can do. Walking around with a Louis Vuitton bag is you're asking to be robbed. Shouldn't be the case, right?
Yeah.
And with my scope of work and in the UK, everybody, and it's the UK's fault as well, that everybody is very sort of desperate to a certain extent of, because the UK don't have much opportunity for people, there is people out there stealing watches and doing whatever they do. And that's for them, that's their way of putting food on the table or their way of trying to make their money because they haven't got other avenues, right? But we are the bait of that. Anybody doing well in the UK is just bait, and that shouldn't be the case. It's like, I've always wanted to buy an Urus, right? And I'll always manifest it, but I would never go and buy one. I would never go and buy one in the UK because realistically, you're just a target.
Yeah.
Sad thing here now, you're in Dubai. I do want to buy an Urus, but there's no point because an Urus is like a Toyota Prius out here.
Yeah.
No one sort of turns their head. You don't feel special in a supercar out here because it's the norm.
Well, that's what I've enjoyed a lot about being here is, you know, I'm from a small seaside town in the UK, you know, in Kent. And you don't have to do much to feel like you're doing well out there.
Yeah.
Not that I ever had that kind of ego, but, you know, you start to see things going well for yourself and very quickly you separate yourself from everyone else.
Yeah.
Not even intentionally, but you just see the way everyone else is acting and what they're doing and you realise very quickly, I'm just not really like that.
No.
And it's hard to find like-minded people. Then I've moved out here and suddenly where I felt like I was there, I'm now, way back down the bottom now. Like, you got a long way to go, son. Like, there's a lot you got to do yet. Yeah. So that's actually been quite nice for me. Like, it puts your ass back in gear and reminds you, no, you're still down here. Like, there's a lot of work to do still.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave me that buzz again. I think it's like what you said. You can almost just breathe out here. You know, you've got no real worries or concerns. Obviously, we have things to pay for now, but it's just you and your journey. Yeah. And everyone else here is on their own journey. And also, everyone's very supportive. I've not, you know, even just out there, you started chatting to that fella about what you do. Like, I can't really remember the last time I walked past someone in the UK or sat down and started chatting to them, because most people will avoid conversation in the UK. Like, if you make eye contact with someone, you'll almost sort of like look away because you don't want to cause any drama.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Whereas out here, like, I'm smiling at everyone. I'm saying, good morning, like, how you doing? It just feels more natural.
Yeah, you know? No, 100%. And I think because it's safe out here, everybody knows that there isn't a sort of an agenda behind somebody trying to help you. Like, we're very narrow-minded in the sense of that. Even now, I'm trying to switch out of it. When someone wants to help, the first thing I think is, what does this person want from me? And it's how I met my business partner, right? When I got introduced to my business partner for a friend, and I remember meeting him, and I straight away was on the back foot, and I thought, this guy is talking rubbish, right? Because he said he can do this for me, he can do that for me, he can do this for me, he can help me do this, help me do that. I thought, yeah, you just a typical, like what people do in London. They promise you the world, say they do this and that, and it never ever fizzles out. And I was very on the back foot, and the back end was like, what does he want? What does he want? To be fair, he probably wanted part of my business and he's gone ahead and got it. But it wasn't that. Everything he said that he could do for me, he did. And he's like, I don't want anything. He's like, your business interlines with mine. Just a client crossover. Like, if I can put people into you, you can put people into me. We both grow. Yeah. And that is the way I look at it now. Like, I'm looking at people and I'm thinking, how can we offer value to one another? Yeah. And it's weird because somebody asked me the other day about TikTok. And back home, if somebody asked me about a TikTok strategy, I'll throw a price tag on it and I'll charge them. Out here, I was like, you know what, bro? I was like, let me just draw something up on a Word document. I was like, I actually want to help. It's a few ideas that I think would work for your business because you're not on TikTok. And I sent it to him. And as I clicked send, I sat there and thought, not why have I done that? But I was like, that's mad. Because...
Do you know what? Was you going to finish then?
No.
I was going to say, do you know what? I also have that same mindset. Not in that sense, but I mean just helping people out. Yeah. Because it actually gives me a sense of fulfillment. I had this 16-year-old reached out to me the other day on Instagram, didn't know me. He did a bit of work with the boys on Tropay, and I think he's now actually helping you out with some reels.
Yes.
And he said, "Hi mate, I'm working with your brother," which I know he was. He said, "I'm really struggling to get clients. I don't really know how to do it." And I said, "Well, look, what's your goal? What are you trying to do? What's the service that you're providing?" And he explained it to me, and I said, "Well, look, I'll ring you on Saturday and I'll give you a conversation and I'll give you some insight as to how you can do it, what I would do if I was in your position." And I took half hour out of my Saturday to help him out purely because he reached out to me. Could I have put a price tag on it? Yeah, but do I want to take money off a 16-year-old who just is on the come up and just wants some advice how to get clients? Because to me, what is a half hour conversation? And he's checking in with me going, I'm now working with Trends Blueprint, I'm doing some reels, and even if he's not getting paid for it, that was part of the strategy, right? Get your foot in the door, show them what you're capable of, and then maybe there's something more long-term.
Yeah.
So all I did was taught him to provide value, which is exactly what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Come in, create reels for free, show the value, and then hopefully get on a longer-term plan. So I'm of the same mindset. I just think if it's running ads or e-commerce, which is what I actually provide as a service, then I'll put a price tag on it. If it's someone wants to just pick my brains and some advice, why not? You know? Unless it was like a regular ongoing thing where they wanted me to work very closely with them, consultation, where it actually takes me a lot of time to think down and consider things, then I would say, okay, now you're really investing in my time.
Yeah.
But if it's a conversation, I'm always happy to have a conversation,
Yeah. And that's how the blueprint started. Like for me, the blueprint was me being really fulfilled in helping people. So when I scaled fairly quickly in lockdown, because that's when my business started to see a real surge, I had a lot of people reach out and I really want to get into the space. How do I do it? Have you got this? Have you got stock? Your content's amazing. And I'll just go back and forth with people on DM. And then it started to become very frequent. But then what it was for me, it was like there was a lot of time going into it. And there was a lot of, I was speaking in riddles because I was like, I can't really tell you that. And I can't give you this and I can't give you that. Which then brought the business idea to me that what if I could be a little bit more transparent with the model, still protect my business, but offer a lot more time to these people as a mentor, but then give them a little sort of bit of flexibility in go to that person to get stock and you can come to us for B2B prices and you can go here and get discounts here. Yeah. But we're streamlining it all to make sure no one can run away and basically take the info. And that's where the blueprint sort of come from. And the price of the blueprint at the start was pennies because I didn't think I could offer value to somebody. I just thought, look, I'm helping them, but the only reason I do need to take something financial out of this is because I am giving them exposure to a few people, and I had to pay people to let people speak to people, if that made sense. And then it just literally just fizzled out to what it is now, which is, I would like to say the Trends Blueprint is successful, 200 members on. We're approaching our second year, I think. Always lose track. Second year. But even now, I get loads of people reach out. And I had, again, a young lad the other day, and he was like, look, mate, I don't have the money to... And this is one thing I really don't like. I would never, ever turn away somebody because of money. Not saying I'll give them the blueprint for free, but if you jump in a DM with me and you say I don't have money, it doesn't mean, he ain't got no money, don't care about him. Not at all. Because if I can offer one piece of value that person takes away and goes and implements into his business, whether it be a logo concept or a name concept. I gave someone a name the other day and I see he set up an Instagram account. He hasn't come through the blueprint, but that hasn't upset me at all. I'm thinking, you know what, amazing. You've actually taken what I said. The logo looks sick. The name looks sick. Whatever you go on to do next, at least I know that I've had a little sprinkle on that success or whatever he goes on to do.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think that would be a really good segue for you to actually talk about the Trends Blueprint and what it is.
Yeah.
But before you do that, I was just going to say, I think something to take away from this for other people is when it comes to providing value, which has actually been a topic of this conversation quite a bit, is how you've done your networking. We're talking about now providing value to people that we don't even know.
Yeah.
I think to an extent, you can never give away too much value. In your case, when we're talking about the Trends Blueprint, yes, you can, because you're actually, if you gave it to everyone, it wouldn't make sense. You're just giving out competition and making it more difficult to yourself. But I mean it in a sense of, if you're having a conversation with someone, if you're giving them advice, 90% of the time people don't even act on it.
No.
They're just fishing. They just want to kind of get what they can from it, and then they'll go away, they'll sit about and they won't do anything anyway. Yeah. But there is a small segment of people who will take action on it, like you said. And one piece of advice can actually spark someone's entire journey. Yeah. Which I think is what I always keep in mind. I always think if I was in their shoes, I think, first of all, fair play for even reaching out. You know, when I was 16, 17, I wouldn't be reaching out to someone who's 10 years older than me saying, oh, mate, you know, I really want your advice. That in itself, I think, takes guts and 100%. It takes opportunity. So I think if I can help people, I try to. And I always think what goes around comes around. I think at some point I'm going to get something back for this, not even necessarily from that person, but someone else will help me. And I think if you put out good into the world, then good will come back. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. Mate, I'll get a buzz from helping somebody. Do you know what I mean? And that's why, like, you got to think the Trends Blueprint is quite time consuming, but it's a buzz. Like, you speak to somebody and we've had 15 people leave their 9-to-5s.
That's crazy.
Do you know what I mean? And that's not saying, they left their job because of me, but no, I played a part in that journey. And I had a webinar yesterday, and I said to somebody the other day, I said, it was Jaden who's on, he just come back from Paris and made £500 and he was there for 4 hours, right? And I remember when he joined the Trends Blueprint, he was on another program and didn't make any money. So even just giving him advice prior to him joining, I remember him messaging me saying, bro, you've really, really motivated me. I've now just locked in my first sale. Can I come ahead and join the Trends Blueprint? Because just from that conversation there, I feel like I'm already going to learn loads.
Yeah.
So from a businessman perspective, offering value could always tie back and offer you value, because these people would then come and join the course. That's not my agenda. But if you can offer value to somebody and they actually appreciate and see that value, they will always sort of stick with you. And it's the same with the trend sourcing. Me going and meeting my clients and offering the value of going to their house and making them a friend. And like, we give out gifts. Like, one of my big clients from out here, I give him a pair of Hermes trainers for Christmas. That's £900 expense out of my budget. But he will stick with me now. I've got him there and he won't go anywhere else. Because I've sort of offered free value to him that's sort of out of the norm, if that makes sense.
100%. I think too many people hold on to everything and try and keep it close to themselves and won't give out value. But like you say, even sometimes it's a small bit of value to then have something massive come back. So I think it's knowing when to provide value and to what extent. And to do it without the intent of expecting something back. I think if you're doing it purely to expect something back all the time, it doesn't always work out. But if you're doing it out of, look, I want to do this to help this guy, and I know as a result of that he's going to give it back, then it's all good, you know. But we've kind of touched on the sides now of the Trends Blueprint. But for those that are listening, what is it? What is the Trends Blueprint, and how can people get involved in personal shopping?
So the Trends Blueprint is the ultimate all-in-one educational business platform that teaches people how to scale personal shopping and reselling businesses across 90 days. That disclaimer, that's not me saying that you're going to have a profitable business in 90 days, because listen, if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. But what I have mapped out in 90 days, fundamentally, I've put my 8 years worth of experience and I've doubled down on everything I did right and put it into an A to Z, from building your brand to social media setup, to gaining access to suppliers, to gaining access to discounts, to gaining access to content. Like, we've mapped out absolutely everything. If I broke down what does a personal shopper need now to be able to scale and make something of their business, we've put it into the blueprint. So educational content we offer one-to-one mentorship, we do content creation. Basically, I've put in everything that I know an aspiring reseller right now would struggle with. Right? Taking content is hard, because to take content, you need a lot of money to be able to buy the stock to take content of. I've mapped out that you don't need any stock investment, because we have a massive stockpile trend sourcing that we now open a door to any Blueprint member on a B2B basis. So not only do you gain access to me as a supplier, but then we're sending you loads of branded content that you can then pump out onto your social media platform. So you eliminate that stigma of, to be a personal shopper, I need tens of thousands of pounds. You do. But with the business model I've created, you don't. And that's why I feel like it's been so successful, because I've got 16-year-olds that are now not scared to take the jump, because they look at it and think, okay, cool, that's the investment to join. But I know I can't do this, and this on my own. And the Trends Blueprint are going to offer me that. All I fundamentally need to do is put the legwork in a network. That's all our members have got to do. Go and find clients. We'll do all the back end. And then by the end of 90 days, they would have hopefully learned so much and built up a platform that they would just go to replicate that process again and again and again and just scale. And we've seen some huge success, mate. 15 9-to-5 leavers. I've got 18, 19-year-olds doing £1,000 a week profit. You aren't going to get that in a 9-to-5. That's £4,000 a month at 18, 19. You know what I mean?
That's
most
amazing.
18, 19-year-olds are on apprenticeships, on apprenticeship wage, which isn't bad, but still do the apprenticeship. This is the thing that I drum into so many young people, right? Go and get a trade. But if you can make £4,000 in a side hustle and nick a trade, you are winning. Do you know what I mean? Imagine being 20, like my age now, I've got GCSEs, I've got A-levels, and I've got a trade in construction. And I'm not a recruitment expert, but if I went back into recruitment, I know I'd kill it. But I've also got a successful business. So you're sort of creating a sort of safety net for yourself, and that's what we're trying to teach.
100%. And it sounds like you pretty much cover absolutely everything in the blueprint. And you said there, the only thing they really need to do to an extent is the networking and get the brand out. Now, to me, that actually sounds like one of the hardest things to do personally. I would say naturally I'm not a networker. I'm getting better as I get older and realizing that it's actually a massive part of life and meeting people. But even last night I went to a networking event and I enjoyed it. I had a very in-depth conversation with about 4 or 5 people, but maybe didn't take advantage of it as much as I could. There was maybe 40 people there.
Yeah.
And I sort of started chatting to a circle of guys and ended up chatting to them all night. But now I feel like I know them all quite well. Got all of their WhatsApps, pinged them all a message this morning saying it was a pleasure to meet you and, really enjoyed it. But I think for a lot of people, that's very daunting.
Yeah.
So, regardless of whether or not it's from a personal shopping perspective, how do you get started with networking, especially if some of these people are 16, 17, 18? Where are the opportunities for them?
Well, I think the easiest thing that we drum in is become your local plug, right? Too many people sit there and go, how am I going to get clients? Where am I going to get clients from? It's really double down and look at people around you that you can leverage off. Friends, family members, friends of friends, anybody that you can have organic conversation with without feeling nervous or scared. So if you went to a family party tomorrow and you started to speak to your cousins and your friends and people at that party and said, do you wear designer clothes? Everyone's going to say yes because everybody wears designer clothes. Whether it be Calvin Klein, Ralph Lauren, or your higher tier Louis Vuitton and Dior, every single person wears something designer, right? So it's about really drumming into your local networks. That's what I done when I started. I looked at my friends, I looked at my friends' families that I had a relationship with, and I looked at my brother's friends. So I just leveraged off of people that I knew weren't going to sort of turn me away, potentially wanted to support the business and knew that what I was selling was genuine. That's a hard thing. You go and meet someone random, even out here in Dubai, the first thing someone says, genuine? I'm like, yeah, of course, it all comes with invoices and we can show you the proof of purchase and things like that. Whereas, as I said to you at the start, why am I leeching on to introducers? Because they're already in my network. Do you know what I mean? So if an introducer then goes out to these boys and says, meet my friend, they're not going to say genuine. They're going to say, okay, yeah, 100%. Because I've got that sort of, that common ground with them.
Yeah.
So my advice to anyone would be, look at people around you. Who's wearing designer clothes? Who on your street that you've got a relationship with shows a sense of wealth, whether that be a nice watch, nice car, nice shoes. And just explain your business to them. Do you know what I mean? And then as you grow, you will network, because you say that the hardest thing is to get clients. I personally feel in reselling and personal shopping, it's easy because if someone walks down the street in a Moncler jacket, you know they're a client. If someone walks down the street in a pair of Dunks, you know they're a client. Whereas for you can't walk down the street and distinguish who wants to run ads and who doesn't want to run ads unless they tell you this is my business and you're like, bingo. Do you know what I mean? Because the guy that works in recruitment isn't going to want to run ads, no, because he works a 9 to 5. But if that guy in recruitment is seen going into a beach club and he's got a Louis Vuitton backpack, I know straight away I can offer value.
Yeah.
So it's very in your face. And it's like, I said it the other day, it's like PTs, for example. All they've got to do is stand outside a gym, go into a gym, or look at someone that's in shape or out of shape and offer them a service.
Yeah.
Do you see that? And that's my advice to anyone. It is easy to find clients, but it's not easy to network.
Yeah. Do you know what makes me laugh? And we actually touched on this earlier. You said it about personal shopping, potentially saturated. So many people use that as an excuse.
Oh, mate.
Oh, it's saturated. Do you know the example I always give is you'd think on the surface that cutting hair is saturated, especially in the UK.
Yeah.
There's however many barbershops on just one high street, right?
Yeah.
A new shop will open all the time, and within a few months, they're busy.
Yeah.
There's no more people in the area, but yet people find the barbershop and use it. So that's what makes me laugh when people say it's saturated. I hear it a lot about online coaching. Yeah. Maybe you've heard it about reselling, but you've just given a perfect example there. If you're a coach, surely you'd make it a thing to every weekend visit a new gym. Every week, get out there, get out in as many different places as you can, start chatting to people. Yeah. And I think the more you do it, the more natural it will become. But you just got to, again, like what we're saying, throw yourself in at the deep end.
Exactly.
And you'll find clients.
Yeah.
Or they'll start coming to you, Once you get your foot in the door, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think that is an excuse to everybody. Everyone says it's saturated or I don't think it's going to work or somebody else in my area is doing it, and you're just diverting going to start. Like you use the barber example, I use the coffee example. There is a Starbucks always next to a Costa, or there is a Costa always next to a Nero, Cafe Nero. They all sell the same coffee. May taste slightly different. They sell coffee, sandwiches, and croissants, but they're always rammed, and they've been there for years. And this is why so many aspiring retailers don't start, because they say saturated. But if you had that mindset, you'd never ever make money. Do you know what I mean? Car dealers here in Dubai, there's loads, right? And my business partner also sells supercars. And I said to him, I remember saying to him, I was like, bro, but everyone sells supercars. He's like, so what? He's like, what does that matter though? He went, because I'm going to have a different approach. And there's loads of people out and everybody's always buying a car. And he's been super successful ever since. So yeah, it's just an excuse that people use.
I think it's, an excuse. It allows them to procrastinate and not take action.
Yeah.
And I think a common theme of what we're saying here is get in early, take action, throw yourself in at the deep end, and just make yourself uncomfortable. Or I think there's a saying I've heard somewhere, it might even be Goggins or something, get comfortable in the uncomfortable, you know? Approaching someone for the first time and trying to, basically, even if it is someone wearing designer clothing, right, and going up to them and trying to approach them, maybe not so much here. I don't know, you might have more stories than me, but if you were trying to do that in the UK, imagine it being a little bit difficult. Even if you are providing value, no one wants to hear it, or, mate, like, do you know what I mean? Go away. Have you had that at all? Well, I'd imagine you probably have, right? Are you getting a bit of thick skin by now?
Yeah, in the UK, mate, always. Do you know what I mean? You go to approach somebody, they think, is he going to steal my watch? What does he want from me? Give him a business card. They say no. Out here, people, I've brought on some huge clients in the last 2 weeks from going, hi mate, I know you're in Hermitage, can I give you a business card? Funny story, I did it at Blue Waters the other day and the guy actually told me to go away. But I was like, wait, I knew there's so much value here. And his friend was like, no, let me speak to him. He's now one of my biggest clients. So yeah, advice to anybody would be like, put your pride to one side and every conversation you have, look at, that's going to make me money. It's going to benefit my business. And as you said there, mate, step out of your comfort zone. You've got to do it in any industry.
Yeah. And have you had any horror stories of maybe not even just that, but anything that's happened while you're trying to sell luxury goods? Because like you mentioned earlier, walking through London with Louis Vuitton bags, Hermes bags, have you ever had any close shaves?
One slight close shave, but I'm very sort of, and I'd like to say it, touch wood, I'm on the ball, mate, in that sense. Obviously, sometimes I'll be a bit blasé, but I would never sort of be in people's faces. There's a lot of personal shoppers out there that are very flashy. That was never me because, again, I'm not that guy. But I'm always quite aware, and I try to be sort of ahead of the game, shall we say. Safety for me is always the main thing, right? Especially in the UK. But yeah, nothing. I've heard some crazy horror stories, but nothing. Again, touch wood. I won't go back to the UK anyway. But yeah, I've heard some crazy horror stories, but nothing. Yeah. Thankfully, nothing with me.
Is this you for good now, Dubai? It sounds like you sound
mate,
pretty
100%.
settled.
Yeah. Like I go back to the UK in April, and I'm dreading it. And the only reason I'm going back is because it's my pal stag in Mexico, and to fly from here to Mexico is long. Could go back for a week, but I'm not. I'm literally going into the airport and then jumping on the new flight to Mexico. So that just goes to show you. And yeah, I miss my family, but do I miss London? No, not at all, man. No. Not at all.
I think, same for me. When I stop and think about family and friends, I think, oh yeah, I do miss people a bit, because especially being somewhere new and not really knowing many people, it's nice to know you as well and move out at the same time. But, I don't have many people to just call up and say, oh, do you want to get coffee? Do you want to do this? But what I've actually set as a goal for me is, since moving out here, coffee with one new person each week, 2 podcasts a month, and 2 networking events a month.
Yeah.
And so far, I've only done 1 networking event this month, but I've hit the 2 podcast goal, and every week I've met someone for coffee. So that's the idea of me getting out and about, and I guess just meeting interesting people.
Yeah.
But I think if we're to kind of tie this off, the bit of advice I would give to everyone then is get out of your comfort zone. That could be moving to a new country, or it could be picking up a new skill such as personal shopping. Throw yourself in at the deep end, and don't be afraid to give value. And at some point, I'm sure you'll get value back.
100%.
But as a kind of finishing note then, Harley, if someone is interested in personal shopping, if they're interested in learning more about the Trends Blueprint, where can they go to find out more about you and also the services that you provide?
Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram. So we've got the Trend Sourcing Instagram, which is our UK-based business. We've just launched Trend Sourcing Dubai, and that's our Dubai-based business. And then obviously you can find us on Instagram at Trends Blueprint. Also got a website and whatnot where you can find out more about us. We're everywhere at the minute. There's podcasts out that you can go and watch. Your one's coming out now to give people a more insight into who I am and what I do. But yeah, I'm a social media bubble, so you can find me on social media.
100%. Well, listen, thank you very much for coming down.
Pleasure, mate.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you very much.
Wicked. Top man, Theo. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.